how technology is going to evolve just made me realize or made me think that the extent that online, all this scamming and online bullying, cyberbullying, and all this stuff, the extent is going to go to if the internet evolves.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, thanks, Tom. Yeah, very, very good. Lexine, your hand's up.
Yeah, to add to what Tom was saying, at the end of the documentary where he was saying, a library of souls would be created. Like most times we look at the negative part and to say that hey, our information is being saved or they're making a profile based on us and our research and what we put in the internet. But at the same time, he was saying that like when most persons are passed and everything, there will be a record that hey, you were here.
Yeah, and you guys remember I mentioned this, I think, not necessarily last class, but the class before, where I think, and this kind of backed it up to some degree. I tend to think that in the relatively soon future to see, maybe it's 10 years, 20 years kind of thing, that it will not be a difficult proposition for anybody to, basically collect and collate and assemble, somebody's lifetime on the internet. There exists on the internet, where you could put together pretty much very effectively a digital representation of somebody's life, with a ton of video, obviously a ton of other material beyond being video. And so what they're talking about in the documentary about basically, reconstructing somebody who's passed on, right? And, essentially having a conversation with them based upon the person that they are, that's a totally realistic proposition. It really is. There's certainly, one of the things obviously that obviously that doesn't take into account, even though they mentioned you could have a conversation with Churchill or whoever it's going to be. I mean, all of those things are reconstructed from written records, not from, and some television records, because obviously TV was around. Churchill died in 1964, but I mean, his most important persona in the world stage was as Prime Minister of England during the Second World War, where he essentially saved England from the Nazi invasion. So there's a lot of radio and TV around that. So that has already probably been digitized to a great degree. So for somebody like Winston Churchill, hopefully most know who that is. If you don't, that he was incredibly important to the world, really. But it's probably not impossible to reconstruct, some of that. But you have to remember, of course, that in that kind of case, or for anybody, even John F. Kennedy as the President of the United States, same kind of thing. Lots of television coverage, some radio coverage. I mean, he was president from 60 to 63. So, the radio wasn't as important as it was for Churchill during the 1940s, for instance, but a lot more television. So you could take somebody's, presence in these kind of media, digitize them, and to some degree create a persona for them. And use that and try to, and I'm sure using AI and all kinds of things, you could probably get them to be like they exactly existed, and you could have conversations with them or interact with them somehow. But I mean, that's, and that's something that, that is possible. My kids make fun of me because when they were small and they were all born in the 80s, I went out and I bought the most expensive video camera I could, and Sony made them, and they were big cameras. You carried them around basically on your shoulder. They were with a battery pack kind of thing. And I videotaped, the entire life of my children growing up, when a lot of people didn't do that, but I did it. And so we have lots, and we have lots of hard copies of these tapes that I've now reduced to DVDs, which I could upload to, for instance, YouTube, as on a family channel if I wanted, that kind of thing. So that's great. But I guarantee you, if I was like most of you in your position now, and I started a family, I mean, I would record, my family like constantly and upload it constantly to the internet. I just would. One of my daughters does it on a pretty regular basis with her daughter, who's only 2 at this stage of the game. So there's a lot of, I always see Instagram stuff about my granddaughter, on a pretty regular basis. I have another daughter who has 2 daughters of her own, and she's really leery about the internet. And they're both, they're only a year and a half apart in age. But, the one daughter embraces the internet and records these things about her child all the time, which is great to see because we live 7 hours away from them, so we don't get to see them in person very often. The other daughter, who lives like 8 hours away, she's very leery, so she refuses to upload a lot of stuff around her children. She takes videos of them, but doesn't make them public. So, we don't see them nearly as often on things like Instagram or Facebook. But if I was doing it as a parent, just based on what I did with my own kids, I would be constantly doing that, and therefore having just a fabulous record of their childhood, basically, forever, for their children to watch. And that's what you guys obviously could do as well. And all I'm saying is that I really do think that based upon, how often everybody records almost everything these days, that it won't be that hard. They call it a library of souls on the video. It won't be that hard by any stretch of the imagination to reconstruct people's lives, right? And that may be something that is done, and I guarantee you it'd be commercialized or monetized somehow for people when they pass away, right? So that you have a virtual person who's still in your life who you've lost, right? That's a moneymaker. It really is. Carrie, your hand's up.
Yeah, I just wanted to share with the class on Netflix as well. There's a new series called Connected, and there's 2 episodes in there. One specifically dealing with surveillance, and the other one that's dealing with the cloud and the internet too. And a lot of the things were similar, but more recent information was on there. So if anyone wants to check that out, that is definitely a lot of interesting stuff going on.
Yeah, good. Thanks, Carrie. Okay, anybody else have any other comments or questions about the video I had you watch? Tyler.
Yes, I suppose I'll just briefly mention that the documentary talked about just the desensitization of people and the social, I'd say, social economy due to the internet and the available apps and programs that are available to us. And it talked briefly about the psychology behind this and the desensitization of people in a social environment. And I would simply strongly agree with that factor. I think as technology comes further along and businesses become more inclined to using technology in these fashions and manners, I believe the direct social communication factor is becoming less prominent in the world.
Absolutely true. Good point, Tyler. Thank you. Okay, anybody else on the video? Okay, I'm going to share now the PowerPoint because I have a couple of short clips. These are news clips. I also shared them with you on Moodle. At least one of them I did for the purposes of tonight. So let's go to those, right? Because they're very much, the merits deal with what we talked about actually within the last week. So this is a news piece on the Canada Revenue Agency and a very serious hack over the course of the last 2 days that deals with something called credential stuffing. So let's watch this.
I want to bring in cybersecurity and privacy expert Claudio Popa. He is also the author of the Canadian Cyber Fraud Handbook. Boy, we all need that handbook right now. Claudio, let's start with your thoughts on this whole idea around credential stuffing. That is a phrase that not many of us have heard until now. Talk to us about what that means and why it leads to the fact that we should all be changing our passwords to make them safe and secure and strong.
Hi, Marcia, and thank you for having me on the show again. The idea of credential stuffing has been around for decades. It's only recently that we've started calling it credential stuffing. Really, it's just password theft. Naturally, when you have a system depending on a secret, that secret is going to get out. There are viruses, there are phishing expeditions, there are websites that steal credentials, and of course there are web browsers that are constantly asking us if it's okay if they just memorized our password for us, for a question to which I hope all viewers say no. But the key point here is that secrecy and security are dissimilar. They're not the same thing, and that's a big problem fundamentally for systems like this. If we know that we've got extremely sensitive information behind a login screen, then we need to depend on more than just secrecy. We know that people are going to be reusing their passwords. It's not just common sense, but it's human nature.
Human nature.
So we can't blame people for that. Credential stuffing itself is something that we know about. We know exactly which passwords are out there. So why not have systems in place that as you're typing in a new password, why not say, hey, you know what, that password has been used in the past, or that password is weak. And as far as GC key, for example, is concerned, why limit a password to between 8 and 16 characters? That already gives fraudsters and criminals an advantage because they know exactly, approximately, what length that password is going to be. There's any number of these things that are weaknesses in the system, and I'm concerned about what we're going to see on Wednesday when this thing goes back online.
Okay, I have a couple questions and I need to get to them, unfortunately,
Sure.
rather rapidly. We heard that the government has said that they have neutralized the threat. What do you make of that? What's your response? Do you feel confident about that?
They weren't specific as to which threat. They indicated that over the weekend and in the past few days, we've seen hundreds of thousands of attacks. What simply that means is that the few thousand people that were attacked manually, the fraudsters said, hey, you know what, we can automate this and we can launch hundreds of thousands of attacks. So by putting a CAPTCHA or requiring users to identify a sidewalk or a crosswalk or a bus, this is just going to remove the opportunity for automating attacks. But I didn't hear anything that would remove the opportunity to simply use stolen passwords for the people that are in the databases that they've acquired.
Okay, we heard we should not be calling the CRA to find out if, in fact, that we were affected. They'll let us know by mail. The RCMP is investigating. Do you think we're going to find out, Claudio, who is behind this?
So far, that was one of my big questions, because all of these attacks are likely going to be from one or maximum of two sources. So the first thing they would have looked at already is, where did the money go? Did it go to a bank in Canada, or did it go to a bank outside of Canada? That is trivial. I was hoping to hear that today, but instead I heard that users should be changing their passwords and choosing unique passwords. You know what? Users should be using long passwords, but if you're limiting them to 16 characters, that limits their security. And using words like, this is our secure system, does not help, because it gives Canadians a false sense of security.
All right, good stuff there. Claudio Popa, thanks.
All right, guys, so they didn't actually give you the background in that clip about what the problem was, but I did post a news item on Moodle for you to take a look at. So does anybody just want to give us a quick snapshot of what that actually was, guys? Anybody who read the article on Moodle? Maxine?
Yeah, basically it was saying that hackers are using a credential stuffing system in which they are reusing passwords that were gathered from previous hacks, and they're using it to basically like steal persons' private information when they're applying for the benefits that are provided for the government. And they were even saying that it's a common thing for a couple days before each date, I guess, to apply, that they see some form of activity on their websites or their server and stuff like that. And they're saying at least I think it was 5,000 persons got hacked or something, the information. So that.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, Lex. Tom.
I think it's about the COVID funds. So hackers are stealing passwords and using it to scam and get money through these funds. And so basically people won't be able to get emergency funds anymore for a while until this is resolved.
Sure, and Giovanni?
A quick question though, as it relates to the CRA being hacked, right? Does this apply to anyone who use sign-in partner? Are they affected as well?
Okay, so all right. So thanks, Giovanni. So that's what I was looking for right at the beginning. Was what we're talking about is hacking the Canada Revenue Agency with respect to the accounts that it has, mostly with respect to CERB. At this point, that's what was hacked fundamentally. And it's now, if you look at the news piece on your screen, it says at the bottom, it says CRA temporarily suspends online portal. Then below that, it says about 5,600 Canada Revenue Agency user accounts were targeted into cyber attacks. So it turns out it's twice that. There's 11 to 12,000 accounts basically hacked. It deals fundamentally around CRB and EI, but it also deals with things like student accounts. So, for instance, if you everybody knows that student loans have been suspended as a function of COVID from, I think it was March or April and to the end of September. But if you want to make an application, for instance, to further reduce or delay your payments on principal and interest and what have you, if you're one of the accounts that are hacked, you won't be able to do that with CRA, right? Using your GC key, which is your Government of Canada key. So, all right, Kate, your hand is up.
Hi, I just, one thing I read was it gives the CRA, it gives a false sense of security by stating it's a secure site. And also that because of the credential stuffing, it's limiting the strength of the passwords because they only limit to 8 to 16 for the GC key, K passwords.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you. Shivani, your hand is back up or is it still up?
Oh yes, another question though. So being that they freeze the whole, anyone who needs like the serve, they can't access it right now. So what are they supposed to do? Like what measures are put in place for persons who are really in need for this fund and they can't get it because of this catastrophe that is taking place now?
Well, there actually isn't anything to do other than to wait. They're now indicating that they will be back. Everybody will be back up and operational tomorrow. All right. So it really, if that's true, it's only been an inconvenience for 3 or 4 days. So hopefully that's what happens. That's what we're waiting for. But the whole point of this was, and I talked about this in a lot of detail last week. I talked about how a lot of cybercrime takes place where people, in fact, call victims and tell them they're from the CRA and that they have tax monies or arrears owing, which is going to involve a criminal charge and all those kind of things, and they have to pay, send money to whatever account it's going to be to stop from being, criminalized as a function of the Canada Revenue Agency. And so, this is the flip coin of that. This is basically proof, and again, it's a function of what we talked about. This is pretty much the largest operational ministry in the federal government, right? There isn't any other government department that has personal contact with virtually every tax-paying citizen in Canada. So, and it's hacked. And you would think with the kind of money that the federal government has, that they can put the firewalls in place and do what's required in order to try to avoid that kind of thing. Tyler, your hand's back up. Carrie?
If I read that correctly, does it not mean that they also had access to everybody's like social insurance number, all their like being everything that has to do with what you file for government
Absolutely.
taxes. So
Yep.
there was, so not only was your banking connection insecure, as well as the tax piece. So
It's as we always discussed. It's whatever personal information would be on hand with the Canada Revenue Agency, which is everything, right? It has all your personal ID because that's what they require for the purposes of filing taxes.
and has there been any like statement of, okay, those people who had their accounts hacked, how they're going to remedy that situation? So I mean, that's a lot of identity theft that it is going to occur in the future if that information's already gone out.
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, this is the stuff of exactly what cyber criminals do. They get this information and use it going forward in the future. I haven't heard a thing about that. I don't know if anybody else has or not. I haven't seen it in the news. Ashat?
Hello.
Hi.
I just wanna, add to what you said about them calling. Like some similar thing happened last year when they called me that I'm owing the CRA, blah blah blah, that I can't call anyone, I can't do anything, that they are coming to arrest me and all those stuff. That like I need to like start paying their money or stuff. Like I didn't know it was fraud at first. So when they now told me that, oh, I can't call anybody, I can't call the phone, I can't hang up. So then I realized that, oh, these people are just scammers. So like the same is happening like every time.
Yeah, no kidding. Thank you. Tyler?
Hello. Yeah, so the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center now has a page dedicated specifically to COVID-19 fraud. And I know that this news article talks mostly about a hack, but I noticed it didn't mention how the fraudsters are posing. And this page has a brief list of how these fraudsters are posing to make COVID-19 fraud scams. I'll just name a couple of them, being loan and financial service companies, cleaning or heating companies, local and provincial hydro and electrical power companies, Centers for Disease and Control Prevention, Public Health Agency of Canada, Red Cross and other known charities, government departments, financial advisors, door-to-door salespeople, and private companies such as those offering fast COVID-19 tests.
Wow, that's a lot. It's pretty much it runs the whole gambit of whoever calls you may be a fraudster, essentially. So thank you. Lexine, your hand's back up?
No, sir.
Oh, no, okay, all right, good enough. All right, guys. Yeah, so again, again, the most to some degree powerful and widespread active ministry of the federal government, is hacked, right? And again, if the federal government can't protect this kind of information, I mean, really, who can? It's an incredibly frustrating situation. Okay, I have another video. This is a news piece again from the weekend. So we're going to watch this, and this is relative to what we watched last week. And then let's talk about this because this just came right out of left field.
Go ahead. Do you want to give Edward Snowden a pardon and bring him back? You once suggested that.
Well, I'm going to look at it. I mean, I'm not that aware of the Snowden situation, but I'm going to start looking at it. There are many, many people. It seems to be a split decision. That many people think that he should be somehow treated differently, and other people think he did very bad things. And I'm going to take a very good look at it. Okay? I mean, I've seen people that are very conservative and very liberal, and they agree on the same issue. They agree both ways. I'm going to take a look at that very strongly, Edward Snowden. Yeah, please.
All right, guys.
Go ahead.
Any thoughts about those comments based on what we saw last week? William?
Yeah, hello?
Yeah, William.
I think it's pretty hypocritical. He wanted to lynch him pretty much 4 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't show that in that clip, but in 2016, he did exactly that. He should be subject to the death penalty for what he had done, right? So, it's obviously, there's everything he does now. It's less than, it's only 80 odd days out to the election. Everything he does now is based upon where he thinks he can get votes and he's going to obviously try to see if there's an appetite for votes to basically pardon Snowden. Interestingly, and this is again part of what Trump has done through the entire tenure of his presidency, is that he dismisses to a great degree the intelligence he receives from his intelligence sources, the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, and what have you. Right? He discounts that intelligence. He made it very clear in his very first year of power that, for instance, when his intelligence sources said that Russia, in fact, did assist his campaign in beating Hillary Clinton, and Putin told him that wasn't the case, he basically said, "I believe Putin," obviously, which is nuts. You really can't, say that you accept this particular person who is clearly not, in favor of seeing America great again. Basically, you prefer that information than your own intelligence sources. Anybody else have any comments on that particular clip by Trump? It tied in really nicely with last week, I thought. Anything else? All right, guys, thank you. Lots of news, so that worked out really well for tonight. So off we go. All right, so let's deal with the lecture itself, the introduction to internet abuse. It's exactly what the title makes it sound like. This is basically the abuse of the internet, taking many forms, and most of this stuff we've talked about already on the very specific talks, classes on sextortion and what have you, right? So, but what this lecture, focuses on is the predatory use of the internet, and again, how it exploits relationships that are formed online. So things like dating websites, we talked a lot about that previously with respect to social engineering and how, love as an emotion is a very powerful emotion, as is loneliness, right? So these are emotions that can be exploited to any number of ways for a tremendous amount of money, obviously. Investigations relating to this kind of exploitation ends up with, traditional criminal charges that were in the criminal code long before the internet was created: criminal harassment, sexual assault, and homicide, right? So those are very serious. The abuse that takes place, basically. So what internet abuse is seen as having a significant impact on physical, psychological well-being, which relates to internet addiction, dependencies, and compulsive behavior. And this, I saw this myself. I mean, one of my sons, this would have been in the early 2000s, so he was, a young man in his early 20s, kind of thing. He was addicted to the World of Warcraft. So I don't know if anybody done Warcraft? I don't even know if it still exists. I presume it does. Anybody here? No? All right. So I mean, it was an incredibly, and it was designed to be addictive because as you progressed through the game, you received. I'm not even sure how it works. I never actually watched my son play it to any great degree, but I think you received credit, and you rose in levels of wizards or whatever you were playing. The characters you took on. Maybe they were avatars, I'm not sure. But anyway, you rose through the ranks, and they actually became valuable commodities. You could sell your position in the game to other people for money, right? And he was just on this thing all the time. And I didn't, I teased him about it to some degree. But I mean, while he was doing that, we were watching TV, so we weren't doing anything, much more, probably less stimulating than what he was doing. So, and he's a young adult, so I couldn't criticize him, and I wouldn't criticize him. That's not the way I treated my family. But anyway, I mean, he went off on his own with his own life outside our home when he moved out, in his mid-20s. And he's still playing it. I don't think he's still playing it today. I haven't actually asked him this for a long time, so I'm not too sure he is, but he could be, and if he is, that's now, 15 years ago, so he's really into it. But that's the kind of thing. That's an internet addiction to some degree, where you basically It's like an addiction to anything, drugs and alcohol. You want them, you don't have them, you think about them, you make plans on how to get them. That's how addictions work, right? And so if you're addicted to something on the internet, and it could be porn for that matter, you're going to do whatever you can to spend your time online, basically facilitating that addiction, right? And problems, of course, with, these kinds of issues, obviously, you open yourself to the prospects of, certainly losses of privacy, distributions of personal information, intimidation, depending on what's happening, right? And exploitative online activity, obviously, is a function of preying on others, which we've already discussed to a great degree, right? A lot of the predatory abuse targets adolescents, and that just kind of makes sense, right? I mean, younger minds, more malleable to, suggestions, more interested in and increasingly wanted to belong or be associated with somebody, to have connections, those kind of things, right? And they create the opportunity for crime by adults who can, obviously use the access to adolescents for online sexual coercion and extortion, which again is sextortion, and we've talked about that, right? And your text goes into some detail about how law enforcement responds to calls for things like fraud, assault, blackmail, homicide, as a function of exploitive relationships. You remember we talked about, when it came to things like homicide, we talked about how, this was probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, where there was this guy in Holland who entered into relationships with girls around the world, and particularly one in Nova Scotia, in a relationship, and again, the back and forth of explicit photos that he got from her because she thought she was in a relationship that was a personal relationship, and it wasn't. That was very exploitive, and we've had a couple of cases in Canada where the teenage girls have killed themselves. One did it by an overdose, and one hanged herself. So, clearly that's a homicide, right? Where somebody with intent, basically does something where they know that they can cause the other person to basically take their life, right? Problematic abuse is dangerous, potentially lethal. It's not always sexual in nature, although that's a very big trigger for a lot of this, but it doesn't have to be. That's just one of the categories where it's very popular. All right, there's also, and you guys probably are more familiar with this than I am, all kinds of challenges that go viral that younger people, for the most part, watch with a lot of interest, right? And it's an addictive kind of thing as well. So I have a couple of these for you. So let's watch these.
Get off now, get off, that's a minute. Show that, get the camera. Oh my God, can you guys see that?
What the f?
You guys see that? Can you guys see that?
Wait, did your skin go inside?
I don't know, bro, I'm actually getting scared now. Don't make me ain't done no thing. Hey man, hey man, yeah. Listen,
that's a new one.
No, it's not. I've done it like 4 times in a row.
I wasn't listening.
But I knew you weren't listening. I'm back with another video, and I'm with AJ Shabil.
Let's get it. I'm AJ Shabil.
Yeah.
I'm AJ Shabil.
Yeah.
Anytime they see me, they killed that the shoe.
What language is that?
That was Taiwanese.
Okay. As you can see from the title, we are doing the salt and ice challenge. So if you guys don't know what this is, basically, if you put salt on your skin, then ice on top, it burns.
It makes you go.
It literally goes.
I like that.
I mean, so it burns your skin, so you shouldn't do it. Don't try this at home, guys.
Don't try this at home, it's too dangerous.
Maybe you should try it. No,
Don't try it. Don't try it at home, guys. You don't want 3rd degree burns and all that, but definitely try it at home if you can.
We're going to be asking general questions. If we get it wrong, we get a salt and ice on our hand. Novocaine, baby. So guys, I made a cover of a song, Frank Ocean, Novocaine.
It's a banger.
SoundCloud. So go in the link in the description, listen to it, click that heart, all them good things, click that heart, all the good things, look, click that heart, all the good things, see me in the road, all the nice rings, even though I'm not wearing one, my man.
You're not wearing a ring, in my jeans, yeah, I got the ting, yeah, see darkest man, I'm gonna see him, I swear I'm gonna put him in the bin.
Oh! Make sure you smash the like button, we're gonna try and get 5,000 likes. Make sure you check the socials,
smash the like, smash the like. See that
I'm just gonna clean that then. Subscribe because we're nearing to 100k.
Oh, 100k!
Remember I told you, hashtag get chunks to 100k. Remember?
Get to 100k.
Subscribe to my bro, AJ Shabil. Without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, so like I told you guys, general knowledge questions. AJ, your first question is, where is the least populated country in the world? What is the answer, AJ?
Somewhere I've never heard of. I don't know, man. I'm just gonna say, where, man? I don't know.
You have to guess.
Madagascar.
Madagascar. Yeah, that's not right.
Okay, sorry.
It's Vatican City.
Where is that? Where is Vatican? Which we go to the city?
It's called Vatican City.
Okay, where's that located?
It's near.
Okay. But where's the country? Explain.
I don't know and I don't care. Yeah? All I know is you're gonna get burned. So if you can show me your skin, no homo.
Alright, can we start small? Okay.
Just firm it, man.
Okay, I'm about to firm this
You guys
thing.
can see that, yeah? 8, 7, 6.
Okay, I'm not feeling anything right now.
4.
Okay, it's getting really cold. I don't feel anything for the first 7 seconds, and then it just goes.
So the ice basically more twisted than ice with the salt, and that makes a burn sensation which goes.
Actually, it was the ice cubes that went into the salt and then it caused the carbonated carbonated.
Okay, so that's science lesson for you guys.
Yeah, look, you see the mark?
Oh.
In a human body, the total numbers of red blood cells is
15 trillion.
You want to stick with that answer?
Yes.
And you're wrong. It's 30 trillion. You were not listening in biology.
After this, I'm gonna get 12 trillion. I'm gonna rip the blood.
Before we get that ready, we need to dry it quickly. Right. So we do a bit of.
What are you doing, man?
Okay. All right, guys, let's get 15 seconds. Chunks, let's get it.
6.
7, 8, 9.
Oh shit! No.
Let's see the mark.
Can we finish the video there?
Yeah,
guys, make sure you
like, subscribe, share. And we're back in the building.
Okay, we're back. What is the fastest animal on land?
That animal was me.
That's your answer.
No.
No, that's your answer. No.
Cheetah.
No,
What?
it's not.
That's something faster than cheetah.
Yeah.
You say go.
No, 3, 4, 4, 6, 7, 8,
9, 10, 11, 12,
10, 11, 12. And guess what, by the way? Guess what?
What?
Your answer was right. It was a cheetah.
It was a cheetah.
Yeah.
So I got this for no reason.
You know why though? You know why? Because I'm a cheetah.
No.
I had that plan since this morning when I was writing the questions. To make the viewers laugh. Because I'm a cheater. You get it?
Yeah, I know you're a cheater. Cause look at my hand. First China war was fought between China and Britain, China and France, China and Egypt, or China and Greek.
China and Egypt.
Yeah, how did you?
Swear to God.
Yeah. The answer was A, China and Britain. Don't ever laugh like that in your life.
So William and Ching Ching had a fight.
Alright, cool guys, that's a bit of a longer line as you guys can see.
Go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh my God. Oh my God. Guys, at the end of the video, I'll show you close-ups of our scars. Oh! Yo, looks mad. What is 20% of 45?
20% of 45?
Yeah.
You just had to be massive.
Yeah, 20 seconds to do that. 20.
Wait, where did the 20 seconds come from? 20%.
Yeah.
20% of 20%.
Ah! So the answer was 9, I think.
I'm not on the same spot. Please, not on the same one.
Spot.
Wait.
Shush.
Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4.
No, wait, I'm counting.
8,
I'm
9.
counting.
Oh, it's already done.
I'm counting.
Did you check the side effects?
Yeah, it says cancer.
It's alright.
That's cool, that's not a big...
What is the capital city of Bulgaria?
Bulgaria, oh, Jesus, what is that?
What do you mean? You have Bulgarian friends?
Oh yeah, they say, bye. Wait there. Budapest.
Sofia is the answer.
Yes, I used to date a girl called Sofia.
Yeah, she's Bulgarian.
Yeah? Nah, it's just Somali. Well, no. Hey, come on, man. That's my family's soul.
Look how big this ice is, guys. And look at his hand, show his hand.
Go.
Alright, 3, 2, 1.
1, 2. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. I'm a man. I'm a grown man.
You're still holding it! Hey, girl, I'm
No, leave it. I'm gonna
my own hand is burning!
Get off, that's a minute. Show that, get the camera. Oh my God, can you guys see that?
What the f?
You guys see that? Can you guys see that?
Wait, did your skin go inside?
I don't know, bro, I'm actually getting scared now.
Guys, look at this. There's holes in his hand.
Oh my God! Oh shit! No.
Close to this.
Oh.
Guys, I thought this was bad, yeah? I thought that was bad.
Shitty shit.
What the? Hey, should we get some other?
Yeah, go.
Okay.
How did my skin go in? It's normal now.
It's going back to normal now.
Oh my God.
You're actually shocked, isn't it?
I'm so shocked.
Run it over hot water.
Oh my God.
Hey, you're gone, innit?
Bro, I shouldn't have done this, fam.
We both shouldn't have done this. Look at what I have in my hand. You can see it from here and it's not even focused.
Look at mine. This is gonna be the big reveal, guys, yeah? Oh my goodness me.
That is all red. Alright guys, say in the comments which one's worse. Chunks' one went in, but then flattened out. Look at this, guys. Look at that. I have one bubble here and one bubble here. And I swear I can't feel my hands!
Alright guys, that's the end of the video. It's something different, something I don't do that much. If it gets worse, I'm going to show you an update after the outro. But as of now, that's the end of the video, guys. I hope
Another surprise for you. It's a mess.
You meet this guy in your life, never trust.
Hey, babe, come here. Martin Show. Come here. Stay right here. Stay right here. Put your hands on the wall.
Like,
Like this. Yes. Right together. Nothing can more hot. Seriously? Whatever. You have water on yourself.
is it the water?
Yeah, it's water.
Wait. Ay! Ay! Okay, you're the first leader. Bravo, what's this?
It's a challenge.
Okay, fix my hair.
Oh, sounds like...
No, it's a goal in my mouth.
Shut the fuck up.
Easy. No.
It's easy? Still easy? It's still easy?
So, I can't breathe. I wake up.
It's still easy for you?
No.
What about this one?
No, I can't! I can't! I mean, I can't breathe because my nose.
Shut the fuck up.
No, what you doing? Someone,
No, I can't hear you.
someone wants to know what I think. I can't do it. Hey, Nemo?
Shut up. You can't. Now you have to start to take off, but after to chew to it.
Hey!
I don't know. You have
I'm not open. My pants open.
You have to try. Hey, what's up?
Hey, what's that? Help me. What's that?
Hey, what's up YouTube? Welcome back with another video. In this video we're gonna make the escape the tape challenge. As you can see. So let's go. This is very good. I don't hear your voice for a lot. Maybe 5 minutes.
You like me?
Okay, let's go. Let's see how much time you need to take off this.
1 year. Hey, to take off. My hands dry now.
You can try.
I don't feel my hands.
You know, I can't understand what you say.
Oh, you can. I know you can.
You have to start from somewhere. Come on.
Oh! I think it's because my hands.
You take off your hands now? Oh, you're very good though. Come on, try more. Seriously, I have a surprise for you. You want to see it? I can help you with this one. No, serious.
I say sushi. You have sushi for me.
Sisi?
Sushi.
Sushi? No.
I don't want another surprise.
Go back.
No!
Go back.
I can't. I have my hands here. So...
Tayyip, close your eyes. Let me bring your surprise first before you start. You need time for this. I can help you, but you have to close your eyes first.
I don't choose. It's good surprise.
Seriously, it's very good. No boy. You want surprise or no? You don't want?
What is a surprise?
You have to close your eyes and I will bring it for you. No, I know you already. So it's not here.
No! I close.
No, wait, I close your eyes with tape.
No! I close!
Tayyip, sit down.
I sit!
No, not like this. Like go back. And after close your eyes. Or I put tape on your eyes.
Oh! I can't! Really, I can't. It's my hands here.
Stay. Shh. Just shut the fuck up. Speak too much. I see you.
I don't trust you
I will
more.
put tape on you.
Anymore, I don't trust you.
Then I will put tape
No,
this way.
no, no!
No, boys, just close your eyes. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Martin Chuk. You have to escape the tape very fast. You have to take off all the tape, or you have more surprise. I have more surprise for you. Come on faster.
Sorry, so funny!
Come on, you can do it. Try to take off your legs, maybe. But one leg each. Yeah.
No, Mimo, don't please with him. Don't hurt him.
That's right, Mimo. I have a second surprise for you, but you start with your legs. Давай faster. Pupsik, take off your legs, it will help you.
I can't.
No, you can. Try with one leg. Faster. I have a second surprise for you.
You love me so much, no?
I love you so much, but you make it very slow. It's almost like 11 minutes now.
No, Mimo!
Asra!
I don't give you anything anymore!
Faster. 1, 2. Another surprise for you. It's a mess. Come on, take off faster. I have another surprise for you. One more surprise for you. Want to see it? I have another surprise for you. I have one more surprise for you. You want to see it? Take it off slowly, maybe you cut your hair now. You done? But you're very good, you know? It takes you like 11 minutes.
I put this makeup today, like 20 minutes. Sorry?
You take 20 minutes to put this makeup? But you still look beautiful. You want to see it on camera?
No.
Oh shit, no.
Oh, you want to hug?
No.
You want to hug me so
No. This is milk on camera.
How I take off this? Oh shit! Oh.
because Mimo, because she's very smart. I ask her for milk and she make for me milk, not bring powder. Okay, but you're very good. You make it very fast. It takes you like 11 minutes. All right, guys. Here, as
you meet this guy in your life, never trust him. He first make you his wife, and after he makes this with you. I still have light inside my eyes here, and I can't see you so good.
Okay, guys, so the reason I show these two to you is from this part of chapter 9. So here's what it says. So problematic abuse, which is what this is considered, of the internet involves many types of online activities. Some of these activities are innocent and harmless, whereas others are dangerous and potentially lethal. For example, young people often participate in what have become online viral challenges, such as the Salt and Ice Challenge, the Duct Tape Challenge, the Cinnamon Challenge, and the Bird Box Challenge. When challenges go viral, they circulate through schools and communities and can become a worry for parents, teachers, and sometimes police and medical personnel. The MOMO, that's M-O-M-O challenge, was particularly concerning for police because it appeared to be a viral message that instructed very young children to commit suicide. All right. Okay. All right. So next, we're just going to reference now doxing, and we've talked about this before to some degree too, which is the online publishing of victims' personal information. Right. So that's all it is that somebody just posts online personal information with respect to somebody. Its purpose is to harm somebody's reputation, essentially. So it happens, often the text refers to it happening on executives for companies and certainly politicians, those people who have reputations that go to the core of who they are and the kind of business they conduct. Internet addiction itself has been diagnosed, this is psychologically speaking, as a subset of technology addiction, but there is no common or standard diagnosis for it. The unsafe use of mobile devices has resulted in actually 27% of all fatal accidents. That's a stat from British Columbia. So over a quarter of all fatalities in motor vehicle accidents in British Columbia were caused by those people who were distracted, fundamentally using or fundamentally texting while on their phones. All right, and everybody knows that that's totally illegal across the country for the most part. All right. How predatory internet abuse is used in personal online relationships. Well, obviously technology is used to social engineer victims. We know what that is. Online sexual coercion, exploitation, which is sextortion, are crimes designed to gain power over victims, and that's very often what sexual abuse and sexual assault is all about. It's power, not necessarily sex itself. And obviously when demands escalate and things like, if you've already given me these photos, I'm going to distribute these photos online, those kind of things, then that can lead to victims harming themselves and committing suicide, which we just talked about a few minutes ago. All right, here is online dating scams, which has become an incredibly big business these days.
Due to recent events, there are probably a lot of people out there looking for someone to snuggle up with during quarantine. Dating apps provide a quick solution to match with someone and begin forming a relationship. Sometimes you may even be communicating with someone who runs $1 million operation. As you'll find out in this video, some of these scammers are receiving millions of dollars from vulnerable online daters. Reported just a couple weeks ago, a married couple in New Jersey are facing charges in an alleged online dating scam that federal prosecutors say swindled at least 33 people out of more than $6 million. NBC News reported that the husband and wife, who have 2 young children and live in Maple Shade, ran the scheme from October 16 to May 2020 and involved several conspirators who lived in Nigeria and Turkey and defrauded victims from around the US. This video was originally just going to cover this single story, but as I began researching, I came across story after story of people losing 10 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand, all the way up to $1.5 million. So I'll provide a couple interesting stories first, and then I'll give you my perspective on the psychological tricks and the strategies these scammers use to manipulate people to send them money. I want to credit the YouTube channel Ukraine.com for producing this video. This gentleman articulates his points well, is well spoken, dresses well, and comes across as an intelligent man. But let's see how much money he spent looking for love.
I went through my bank statements and of all 3 credit cards I have. So the total amount spent was $317,000.
Ooh, ouch. What is incredible about this scam is that a real woman is actually behind this scam. He received a message from a beautiful Russian Instagram model and they magically hit it off. She was being paid by the agency running the dating app to be complicit in the scam. The victims of this scam could pay credits to send material items to her, send her specific emojis, and to have her send video messages or photos.
Then you have where I spent most of the money. About 75% of the money was spent on stickers and photos. So, they have these little emojis. They call them stickers. They're basically just emojis that you can purchase on the site.
The agency would give her a cut of all of the transactions, which incentivized her to send targeted messages to the victims. The victims would receive videos of this beautiful model wishing them to have a nice day while shouting out their names, so of course she's legit.
Hello, honey Anthony. I'm waiting for your meeting. Hi, Anthony. I miss you so much.
But they never met, of course, and it took this guy spending $300,000 on bonus purchases to realize it. I would think that men would be the easiest to target for online dating scams, but I found a majority of the victims during my research were women. This woman says she lost over $1 million from an online dating scam. You all think buying an online course for $997 is expensive. How about a course in finding out you've been scammed? That is brutal.
At this point, your heart rules your head, and I was doing what my heart wanted me to do.
And you're probably thinking that there's no way that this could happen to a young and attractive lady. Well, this poor young woman met a con man on Tinder and sent him $200,000 in total. I began this video by showing a variety of people to help exemplify that we are all capable of getting conned into losing a lot of money. One of the reasons why I focus so much on psychology, manipulation, and persuasion with gurus is because of how it protects you in other areas of life. I know a lot of you are upset that these fake gurus can run rampant on YouTube and Facebook, but understand that these fake gurus are such small potatoes to the actual scams going on around the world that we simply don't have enough regulatory bodies and resources to handle all of these scams. This guy, labeled Casanova Conman, went from woman to woman, seducing each into basically paying for his lifestyle. He claimed he worked on Wall Street for Goldman Sachs, which speculatively paid for his fancy lifestyle with flashy cars and exorbitant taste. But really, it was the women he conned that were paying for his lifestyle. Once the woman he was dating started getting suspicious, he moved on to the next, but he was eventually arrested. Here's a breakdown of the strategies these scammers implement to make millions of dollars. The scammers will most often use pictures of military personnel for their profile as it gives them the easiest story to run the scam. Professions such as global investor or oil rig engineer also allow for the scam to be played out, because it makes logical sense for the scammer to always be in different countries and not available to meet in person. I personally think soldiers are used as the fake pictures most often because of the inherent trust many of us have in military personnel.
Colonel Denny's face was used to create more than 3,000 fake profiles. Denny's pictures are the only constant.
The scammers find someone who is in a vulnerable state. Additionally, I have found that the scammer is using pictures of someone who is more attractive or has a significantly higher status in life than the victim. We are all vulnerable to online dating scams if we perceive our potential match as being significantly more attractive in our blueprint of attraction than our other options. The scammers prey on the victim's emotions with manipulative use of showing affection and care, and a lot of cases showing you that just listening is all that's needed, as most of these people are in emotional pain, they're lonely, or even isolated from a recent divorce or death.
I was a lonely person then, and I was looking for a new life.
The scammers began using future projections to deepen that emotional bond the victim has for them. Future projection is where you tell stories or create events involving you and someone else in the future. I can see us traveling to Spain together, or I would love to have our wedding at the beach, are a couple examples. It's extremely easy to manipulate a victim on dating apps when you've reached this stage and the victim has not left the chat. This is where the scammers begin the claims of wanting to be with you forever, I'm starting to really enjoy the idea of having you and your kids surround me every single day of my life, or go to the store and pick out your dress, baby, and send me pictures. It's easy for the victim to get caught in a trance of emotions.
And they actually went to her place of business and they took her away and took her for assessment.
Colleen was released. She could not be convinced that Ryan wasn't real. The RCMP were called a third time when Colleen suddenly sold her house.
One really powerful manipulation technique the scammers use is that they persuade the victim into detaching from their support system. Don't believe your friends, I am real. Our love is real. I'm all you need in this crazy life. I will support you forever. Your friends are just trying to separate us because they're jealous you found someone you love. After a few months of talking and forming a relationship, there are promises of being able to meet in person, but their job consistently sends them to different locations and cancels the meet, unfortunately. Once the victim has emotionally bought into the scam, then the scammers can begin what I call the compliance ladder of sending money. They typically begin asking for a small amount of money to gauge your compliance. If you say yes, then you are someone who is comfortable sending money to a stranger. You are the mark. The reasons for sending money generally have to do with a small issue that the scammer is having. A simple example is these scammers claiming they have business income about to hit their bank account, but because it hasn't hit yet, then they just need some quick cash to pay for a small business expense, or their bank account is having some issues, so I just need some money right now. It's important to the scammers that they don't trigger any red flags in the victim, and that's why they keep it small initially. Since so many of these scammers use military personnel's pictures, the first expense may be them covering a small fee for the scammer to leave the military to come and visit.
One of the most common is the leave scam, where they'll tell the woman that, hey, I want to come visit you, or I want to come marry you even, and the only way I can do it is to go on leave, and the Army makes me pay a fee of $400 or $1,000 or $5,000, and I don't have the money, I don't have access to my bank account, can you pay that fee for me?
Over the following months, the amount the scammers need escalates. The reason why the victims become compliant is because each additional ask is just a little bit more than the last. Remember, scammers prey on your emotions. When you're in a deeply affectionate emotional state, all logic in your brain is turned off. This is essentially the compliance ladder. This is an important principle that everyone needs to understand. I define it as needing to get a yes at each new rung of the ladder in order to advance. These scammers begin with a small amount to get the initial yes, and then they slowly ask for more. In the dating world, if a guy wants to sleep with a girl, he needs to focus on first getting her on a date, then hugging, then holding hands, then kissing, and so on. You can't advance to the next step until you get full compliance where you're at. The internet marketing gurus use the compliance ladder as well. They begin by getting you to say yes to a free ebook or paying for shipping for a free ebook. They then try to get you to say yes to a monthly Facebook group that's just a little bit more, then a software product that's a little bit more, then an inner circle, and before you know it, you just spent 25 grand to get mentored by a guru. Basically, I just explained ClickFunnels to you. As the amount of money sent to the scammer gets larger, the scammers will begin providing legitimate looking documents from their bank accounts showing that they will have the money, or they have the money but they can't spend it because there's a temporary issue with the bank. In some cases, the documents are completely forged to ease concerns of the victim. It appears that the money is there because it shows on some PDF document with Bank of Nigeria written at the top. The scammer is always adamant that the money will be paid back shortly. The profile of the scammer is generally that of a high income or high net worth person, so of course the scammer has the money to pay back the victim. The amounts just keep increasing over time. At this point, the victim is so stuck in the scam that they aren't fully aware of what's going on. The scammer essentially goes until the victim finds out what is happening and calls it quits.
Initially it was only very small amounts. Just the original bank vault fees were, I think, $700, $800. And then it progressively got higher and higher and higher, and then it got to $10,000, $20,000, $25,000, till it reached close to $80,000.
In many of these scams, the scammer will claim to have access to a large amount of money located in a box somewhere and was left to the scammer by a recently deceased family member. They use the compliance ladder really well in this scenario because they begin asking for money for small fees to have access to this money. The big payday comes when they say they need a percentage of the total amount in the box in order to ship the box to the victim's country. The victim will easily comply at this point because they're spending 50 grand and they have $2 million being sent to them in a mysterious box and will get paid back instantly upon its arrival. I'm sure you're wondering how the victims can't tell that these scammers aren't who they say they are. In many cases, there is always an issue with the video camera when the scammer and victim try to connect over video chat. Remember what I said earlier about the professions of these scammers. Their professions typically involve being away for many months at a time, or they need to always be on the road meeting with different offices in different countries. And so it makes enough logical sense that they can't meet or speak on video chat to keep the victim suppressing their logical mind. These global scams are very sophisticated, and the entire story is already fabricated so that everything can fall into place as the victim gets sent through the funnel to empty bank accounts. You can essentially view it as a flowchart as the people get funneled down into losing all their money. And sadly, you'll always hear the phrase,
I just can't believe that she fell for this.
I did not expect myself to fall for something like this. I've seen these things on documentaries and stuff. I said, look at that. That poor soul. Who would be silly enough to fall for that?
I'm going to leave the resources I used in the description box below for those of you interested in going down the rabbit hole of seeing how these scams operate. One of the more interesting discoveries is a global organization is essentially running all of these scams. These scams are so elaborate that I was legitimately impressed by how much they're stealing and how they're able to operate a global system for defrauding victims without going to jail. Sadly, this will continue as long as these con men and scammers pull millions away from victims and get away with it. Thanks so much for watching.
All right, guys, good enough. And the one last thing we're going to talk about with respect to basically internet abuse is swatting. So we saw a bit of some examples of swatting in the long video that we had for discussion purposes, the National Geographic one on internet addiction. So for those of you who don't know what swatting is, and there's some of that in the textbook. So swatting is basically somebody calling the police, usually 911. That's what we use in Canada. It's 999 in England. It's 000 in Australia. It doesn't matter what it is, but it's calling, you know, an emergency number to basically say that something of an incredibly, you know, criminal nature for the most part is taking place in somebody's house, and the person's house to which the 911 call relates to is the person who is basically subject to the swatting hoax. Right, and so we're going to watch, this is the last video for tonight's class, and these are examples, obviously, of you know, problematic swatting hoaxes. And obviously, these things cause enormous amounts of not only confusion and problems, but sometimes really deadly consequences.
This is 911. What's going on?
My mom and dad, they were arguing and I shot him in the head and he's not breathing anymore.
Do you have any weapons on you?
Yeah, I do.
What kind of weapons do you have?
A handgun.
What kind of handgun is it?
I don't know, it's my dad's.
What color is it?
It's black. I'm just pointing the gun at them, making sure they stay in the closet. My mom and my little brother.
Okay, is there any way you can put the gun up?
No. Are you guys sending someone over here? Because then I'm definitely not going to put it away. I already poured gasoline all over the house. I might just set it on fire. Do you have my address correct?
Walk this way! Walk!
Officers came here preparing for a hostage situation. Several of them got into position. A male came to the front door. As he came to the front door, one of our officers discharged his weapon. That male, 28 years old, was transported to a local hospital where he was pronounced dead.
Can't just go around shooting people without any consequences. Family was very important to him. He's got 2 kids that survive him, and they're missing out on a wonderful man.
Yeah, I was going to show you guys a video, but I didn't, just because it's a lot lesser than this. What it was a video showing the top 10 gamers who were subject to swatting, and so what I saw in that video, and you can see it yourself, is that, you know, the gamers the camera is filming them gaming, all right, so it's part of the process, I guess, and you see the gamers playing, and then all of a sudden, you know, there's a knock on the door, and you know, basically the door breaks open and the cops come rushing in. basically they have to lie down on the floor, because what's happened is that somebody has called has called 911 to report some kind of a crime taking place at the home of the gamers, right? And that seems to be a really popular destination for this kind of thing. And that's what we actually saw in the video from National Geographic. There was a bunch of examples where gamers were in fact swatted as a function of this. So that's clearly internet abuse, right? That's there's nothing to be gained by anybody doing that other than inflicting damage on other people. So clearly that's wrong. Okay, and the last thing. Oh, William, your hand's up.
Yeah, hello.
Hey.
I'm wondering, since the cops, shot because they thought of like the situation that they were in was kind of more hostile than it was because it was an innocent man, can the person who did like the swatting, since it's kind of like a newer term, I guess, be held liable for his death, knowing that he was sending them there, with a potential outcome being that, or is it still so new that they don't really have the law around it?
That's a good question, William. And so it's obviously all these things are totally dependent on circumstances. The clip that I just showed you, where in fact the guy's talking about having his family locked in the closet, dousing the house with gasoline, having those kind of things, that person likely would be held culpable, and because the level of danger that they created in this swatting hoax would lead to a very, very heightened response by the police to anybody they came in contact with. So, and when it comes to criminal law, you're going to be found guilty. The mens rea element of the crime is, clearly it's foreseeable that, possibly death could occur, right? It's not much of a stretch to see that happening. So yeah, whereas, some of these things where the gamers are swatted, it's not, life and death situations that are the reason for the 911 call, or the pretend reason. Tyler, your hand's up.
Yes. From a criminal perspective, could the but-for test not apply in the circumstance that is but for the actions of the caller, it wouldn't have happened?
Well, but the but-for test is a civil law test for negligence, right? So you don't have that same logic in a criminal charge. For the purposes of criminality, it's strictly mens rea, the criminal mind or the intent to commit a crime, and the actus reus, the actual physical committing of that crime. But a good question nonetheless. So thank you for that.
Okay, I just thought that the test applied to criminal law, but in a different with different liability.
I get that, but it doesn't. But again, good question. So thank you. So the last thing that is on the slides regarding this chapter, basically the factors that contribute to abuse. Basically, the two things are essentially anonymity, right? And we saw a lot of that in the previous videos talking about, and the larger video talking about the fact that people and it was Yik Yak. What was that what it was called? That you guys maybe know this. It was on the National Geographic video where you're totally anonymous. Right, so you can go on there and say anything you want, post anything you want, who you are. So people can do that without any fear of being embarrassed, or they can do it to inflict whatever damage they want to do without it coming back on them. So there's programs for that on the internet. Obviously, the other thing, of course, too, in most cyber crimes is that these criminals, for the most part, are going to make sure that they're anonymous. Right, they don't want the cops, if it goes so far as to being investigated, for them to come back and finding, in fact, who did it. I don't think it's a very easy thing to hide your identity. I think to a great degree, these things are traceable. But I believe, again, if you deal with things like the dark web, that they're built not to be traced. And that leads to the second point about intent is not easily attributable. So if you can't identify the people who do these things, you often can't basically allocate, what they intended to do. Did they intend to do the damage that in fact was inflicted? All right, okay, guys. So good enough. So that's it for the lecture. So let's move now to the PowerPoint part of the class. Again, for this purpose, I've only put you into 4 groups based on the number of students we have, and we'll do it for 15 minutes because the questions are pretty straightforward. So it's now 9:32 or so, so I will put you to the groups and send you a note in 10 minutes telling you you have 5 minutes to go. All right, guys, see you in 15.